Whitney,
Hello. How are you? So good to see you.
I'm good. How's everything over there? Is it
Good.
cold?
Actually, we haven't had a very cold fall this year. We haven't had any snow. It's been like in the 50s. We had some days that were 70s. So I don't know what's going on, but I think we might get some snow, maybe a dusting this weekend.
Yeah, well, it's the weather has been so crazy, like
Yeah.
so weird and crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
How about for
yeah,
you? Is it lovely weather, I'm sure?
it's so I like this part of the year because the mornings are a lot cooler.
Mm-hmm.
Because during the day it's still like 80,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but the early mornings and like the evenings get cooler, and I absolutely love that. I
That's perfect.
love that.
I do
So
too.
like the evenings and the mornings here, like I'm in the city, so it may be like on a really cold morning, maybe high 60s, 67,
On a really
68,
cold morning.
70 on a really cold morning.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so normally it's like in this right now it's normally like in the mid 70s, low 70s in the morning, and to me that's like yay,
Yeah.
beautiful.
That's perfect.
But yeah, but I mean ironically people may not know, like in the mountains here it can get in the like low 50s
Oh, really?
up in the
Okay.
mountains. So it can get chilly.
Yeah.
You might need a jacket.
You might need a jacket, yeah.
Need a jacket. People don't think about that, but you might need a jacket.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really excited about this live with you, Whitney.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Thanks
Um,
for inviting me.
yes. So I have been researching on Wit and West. Like I did my homework.
Yeah.
I feel like a college course. I'm like, yeah, I have so many
Yay.
things to talk to her about. Because when I when I got into fragrance, I had only used like commercial, like the Chanel's of the world fragrances. That's all I ever knew.
Yeah.
So when I really got into fragrances, the first thing that the way that I got into this was through the interpretations, because they were all out there. Kind of ran out of one fragrance and had to go buy, and I was like, hey, you know what? For what I could buy one, I could buy four or five, and that just kind of like sparked the interest that kept snowballing into what it is now.
Hmm.
But in all of that, I was never a floral girl. Me, not the floral person, right? So florals for me were like an automatic, I don't want to smell like florals.
Yeah.
But recently, in the last couple of months, I am obsessed. I'm like, how did this happen to me? Like, where did this come from?
I'm happy
I
to hear that.
I now love florals, and it's something that I was not expecting because in like my entire life, I always like shunned away from florals.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that you're one of the most like pure floral houses that really looks to exhibit the beauty of florals, the way they are, right?
Yeah.
Without trying to like to be something that it's not, right? It's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a beautiful floral, and I absolutely love that. So I want to start out with. I did a little summary here. I have it right here about the house, just to give everyone a little bit of a backstory, and then if you want to add on to that, then feel free, just kind of kick it off. So Wit and West was founded in 2021 in Colorado.
Yep. Almost five
Um,
years. So it'll be 5 years in January.
5 years. Wow, time flies.
I know, it really does.
Um, so and the one of the very unique things about Wit and West is you specialize in all natural vegan fragrances, and you're very focused on keeping it as natural and as environmentally conscious as possible as a brand, from everything from packaging to your actual fragrances and the techniques that you use. And you do a lot of things by hand, like your own tinctures, your own enfleurage, which I didn't even know what enfleurage was until Wit and West, and I was like, oh my gosh. And you use flowers from your garden, like this is a very artisanal elaboration of fragrance, like very different from what we may be accustomed to seeing.
Hmm.
Um, you're also inspired by music, the visual arts, and food. Like are you guys foodies?
We're foodies, and I'm a ballroom dancer too. So music, yes, but specifically ballroom dance.
Yeah. And I while I was reading, you have Valse, right? Valse is inspired by the waltz.
Yeah, La Valse, which just means the waltz in French.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it, but you also like studied this. This isn't like something that you fell upon and started tinkering and then just kind of came up with a house. Like you actually went and spent time preparing for this, especially natural perfumery, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have, done self-study. I studied with Mandy Oftel, Charna Ethier from Providence Perfume Company, and then I took classes at the Grass Institute of Perfumery, and I primarily did that because I wanted to understand synthetic materials and how I could interpret that into a natural palette. And I think that that is like kind of helpful for me because there's a lot of effects that are done in modern perfumery using synthetic ingredients that are a little bit harder to do with naturals, quite frankly. But it's kind of a fun challenge for me. And the reason that I chose natural perfumery, and I always feel like I need to like caveat this,
Yeah.
so people understand that I don't have anything against like synthetic aroma molecules. I don't think they're bad. I just chose natural perfumery as an artistic choice. To me, it's like a genre. It's kind of like as opposed to an electric guitar, it's kind of like an acoustic guitar. And so they're just different. And so I like working with the naturals. They're kind of finicky, they're challenging, they act up, but I kind of like to tame them and see how I can do that. And I like the, more traditional methods like enfleurage. They're painstakingly laborious, but I love that process. I love to garden. And so that was something that I really wanted to kind of hone in and get good at. And it's taken me years and years, and it has a very low yield, but I love it. So yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at that entourage because I think you did a video a while back on the is it the Violeteer?
Yeah, that one has irises for my garden.
Viruses. And then I was like, how long is she doing this to get how much of whatever that is? Like, that's a
Yeah,
lot of work.
it is. Yes. I mean, that's why it's a limited edition because I can only get so much per season. And I've had seasons where it doesn't smell the same or they don't bloom as much. And I have been doing enfleurage for lilacs for like about 5 or 6 years, just like waiting to come up with a perfume that I feel like it would fit in. So eventually I will have one, but I've just been kind of like doing it for several years now. And I'm like, I'll figure one out one day and that'll be exciting.
So how did you actually because you said you studied synthetics, did you know you wanted to do natural perfumery from day one? Or was it
Not
something you
necessarily.
stumbled
I've always
upon?
loved perfume, just generally. I think that's what a lot of us say, right? Like whether
Yeah.
you love it, in terms of being somebody who collects, or if you're somebody who loves it casually, or if you're somebody who makes perfume. I think we all have kind of loved it our whole lives. And my parents both always wore perfume. And so I just thought that was like normal. Everybody wears perfume. My dad owned a shop in Colorado Springs that sold a number of like British import things like British teas and candies and chocolate, scarves and clothing. And then he also sold Florists of London. So I've just always really loved perfume. Um, and I had thought about it years ago, and then I looked into it and I was like, well, this is kind of complicated. I looked into it like in 2010, and the access to ingredients and education kind of wasn't there. And then I just, got close to 40 and was like, I don't want to do what I'm doing anymore. I'm going to do something different. And so I decided to take classes with Mandy and then with Charna. And that was just by chance. I wasn't necessarily like, oh, I want to do natural perfumery. They had courses that were really interesting to me and like kind of a good place to start. And then, I was like, this is kind of different and interesting, and not a lot of people are focused on natural perfumery. And maybe this can be the way that I carve out a space for myself. And so I just really kind of fell in love with the process. And like I said, I love a good challenge, and natural perfumery is definitely a challenge. You have a limited palette, you have kind of limitations in terms of the effects that you can create, but I like that challenge and kind of figuring it out and seeing how I can take it in different directions.
So for the benefit of all of us who may not be submerged in what natural perfumery is, could
Yeah.
you help us understand like what is
Yeah.
natural perfumery and
Yeah.
why
No,
is
that's
it so
a good
different
point.
and so difficult?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, it kind of depends on who you talk to because natural perfumery could be just strictly botanical ingredients, meaning whole botanicals. So, using ingredients that are distilled, so that would create an essential oil. This is another thing that I feel like I often have to tell people, like natural perfumery isn't just essential oils, because essential oils can't you can't actually distill a lot of plants. A lot of flowers don't work with distillation because of the heat involved in the process. So things like jasmine can't be distilled. Rose can, and so you can create a rose essential oil, or rose otto. But you can also create a rose absolute oil, which is a solvent extraction of rose. So really it is about using these ingredients that are kind of like the whole ingredients. So solvent extraction, which is an absolute oil, essential oils. And then there's some newer technology, like CO2 extraction. And then enfleurage is obviously one. And there's some other kind of things that I will use from time to time that are concretes, which is basically the process right before you fully wash a solvent extracted extract to create an absolute oil. So basically, that would be kind of your botanical perfume. And I'm using quotations because it really depends on the person you're talking to, where they're like, I'm not going to use anything that's like a natural isolation. I'm going to just use the whole oil, the like in its pure form, like once it's
Like a
been
raw
extracted from the
oil.
plant.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then there's natural isolates, which I do use. And so that would be something like, for example, geraniol, which can be, it's a molecule that is naturally occurring in rose, as well as geranium. And so some natural perfumers might say like, oh, that to me isn't necessarily pure, so I don't use natural isolates. To me, if it comes from a plant, if the starting place is a plant-based source, then
Why
that to
not?
me is fine. Yeah, why not? There's also some other kind of like newer technologies that use biotech. And so the starting source is basically fermented sugar. And so that's kind of an interesting one to me because it gives you an opportunity to create effects that you couldn't do otherwise. So some things like ambroxan, you generally think of that as being a synthetic aroma molecule, but there is a natural version of ambroxan. And there's not really a lot of natural musks that exist unless you're using animalics. So I choose not to because I just happen to use vegan ingredients. So I don't use anything like civet or ambergris or anything like that. I'm totally fine if
Castoreum or
people
any of
choose
those.
to. What's that?
Or castoreum or any of those.
Yeah, and those are totally fine. I just choose not to use
Yeah.
them. But I do use ambretolide, which is an isolation from ambret seed. So that's like one of the very few musks that you have in natural perfumery if you're doing vegan natural perfumery. So hopefully that kind of explained it. But basically, anything that can be extracted from a plant-based source is kind of like the highest level. And then you kind of get into the nitty-gritty of, oh, well, do you consider a natural isolate to be natural? Which technically it would be natural, but some people don't consider it natural.
So it's
So
like
it just depends.
how purist the botanicals, like there's a level of purists
Yeah.
within the genre.
Yeah. And there are like some organizations that people choose to get certified under. So, like Cosmos International, some people choose to become Cosmos certified natural, just, and this could be for beauty products too, or even their organic certification. So, that also can like limit your palette in terms of what ingredients you use. But again, it's really up to the brand owner in terms of how they define that.
So what are some of the challenges that you encounter as a perfumer that has
Yeah.
chosen the natural route? Because I mean, you mentioned some like limited ingredients, limited, but I think is it like there's more to that, right? Is it
Yeah.
so how
Yeah, I
challenging?
mean, I think the thing that you'll hear a lot of times people say about natural perfume is that it can be kind of like muddy, right? It can be kind of heavy. And so you really have to think about the structure of the perfume, kind of managing what you put in terms of like lighter, like more volatile ingredients that would be considered top notes. So things that are like citrus is a top note, and that kind of lift the perfume. A lot of heart notes can help with that as well. And so you'll see part you mentioned that I work with a lot of florals. It's very hard, in my opinion, to do natural perfumery well without using florals, because then you're kind of left with really heavy base notes.
Yeah.
So vanilla, a lot of the woods, agarwood, oud, things like that are just really heavy.
Yeah, they are.
And they sit close to the skin. So if you want lift, you really kind of need the heart notes and the top notes to help you with that. But the top notes are really fleeting, so you need that bridge. I really believe in the kind of traditional perfumery pyramid structure, the top part and base notes for natural perfumery specifically. I feel like when you're working with mixed media, you can kind of throw away that model. It doesn't really matter as much. But with natural perfumery, you kind of need that evolution for there to be balance in the perfume and for there to actually be projection and interest, honestly, in the perfume.
Yeah, I find that for specifically with Wit and West, I first sprayed everything on scent strips and I did the rest. And then I put it on skin and I'm like, this is something like,
yeah, you have to wear it on skin.
Very different. Like,
It
I'm
is
like,
different.
and I remember telling my husband, don't smell the strips. Don't smell the strips. It's a whole other thing
It's a
on the
different experience.
skin. Very different, and the evolution is remarkable. I mean, I like complex fragrances, so I'm used to fragrances, having their ups and downs and changing the way through the dry down. But I was really surprised at how much of a distance your fragrances can travel being natural. Like there's a lot of movement, like olfactive movement within your fragrances.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. And that, to your point, that is one of the challenges is you really have to like think about like, okay, well, how long is this particular ingredient going to last throughout the duration of the fragrance? And like, how do I make that work with everything else? And so that is something that I'm like constantly tinkering with, like, okay, I really want this one thing to last, but it's not going to because of what it is. So how can I build everything around it so that it has kind of that effect that I want it to have?
Yeah. Yeah. So Beanie Bud is asking, why vegan?
Honestly, like a lot of the natural animalics are not that appealing to me. So you mentioned castoreum, like I'm not a fan. Civet, not a fan.
I was going to say, if you don't like castoreum, civet is out of the question.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind ambergris because honestly, it is more about the effect of ambergris, but it's quite hard to get and it's very costly. So to me, it was more kind of a function of, well, I don't particularly like these ingredients. And I had a number of people ask me in the beginning when I first launched my business, are you vegan? That I was like, why not? Because I'm really not using these ingredients anyway. Yeah.
Boyko is saying Whitney is civet's biggest fan.
Yeah, exactly.
So for me, I was under the misconstrued idea that natural fragrance didn't last.
Say it again.
That natural fragrances didn't last. Like they were very like in short duration.
Yeah,
but
it
not
depends.
necessarily.
Depends.
Yeah.
I mean, like my Eau de colognes in my cologne collection are not going to last as long. And part of that is because I have a greater focus on the top notes, which would be citrus elements, and they're just not going to last because they're very, very volatile. So that's just is what it is. But, things like an amber fragrance, fougere, chypres, those generally will last a little bit longer just because of the structure of the fragrance. Yeah. So it depends on the ingredients. And that's true for mixed media too, honestly.
Yeah, very true. I think that sometimes we sacrifice really good fragrances because we're so focused on longevity that we don't focus on the actual scent, how it actually develops and the story it tells. And that's something that I've learned. That's something I'm learning. Like I find myself, and I was just talking about that right before we went on. I just put a fragrance on this afternoon that I used to love because it was like really strong And now I'm like, I don't think I want it anymore.
Yeah, like it
I
maybe
don't think I
lasts too
want it
long.
anymore. It's because I've expanded my palette so much, and I've learned to appreciate so many other things in a more subtle form and a more subtle and refined beauty, that
Mm-hmm.
now not everything, and I'm a beast mode. I tend to be a beast mode fragrance type of person because I like the ouds and the civets and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But every like I said, like I'm loving florals. Like it's just the way that I have that my nose is now appreciating new
Mm-hmm.
scents to me is incredible. And so I just posted the video a couple days ago. I picked up the olfactive box because Summit Rose was in it. Like, I'm gonna be
Mm-hmm.
honest, that's the only reason why I bought it. Because
Oh, thank you.
when I got my samples, Summit Rose wasn't in the ones I picked.
Yeah.
And I wanted to smell that. And when you said it was in the box, I said, you know what? I'll get a 3-month subscription just to
Yeah,
try
just to
them
check it
out.
out.
And I remember spraying Summit Rose on the little, the little card that they give you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I like this. And I left it there. And then the next morning, I'm picking up my little table where I do my makeup because that's where I put it. And I'm like, wait a minute, this still smells like it was so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Like a whole bunch of hours later. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait a minute, this is so beautiful. And it was like rediscovering it. And it goes to what I was saying before, like I think that it's important to know that when trying Wit and West, and this happens with a lot of indie perfumers, but specifically with Wit and West, you got to put this thing on. You have to put it on, and you have to sit there with it
Yeah.
and let the fragrance like do its thing. You can't spray
Yeah.
it on and in 5 minutes be like, no, 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 no. You got to
Yeah.
spray it on and just let it tell you the story, right?
Yeah.
Let it tell you the story.
It's like nature. I mean, yeah, nature is constantly evolving, and so that's kind of how I view natural perfume too. Is it's evolving. It's not going to just be what it is immediately after spraying it. To your point.
Yeah, it
Um,
is. It is. I mean, I'm in love. Like I have my caldera flower here. Oh shoot, I hit it. Okay, my caldera flower.
I'm so glad
This
you like that one.
I fell in love with this immediately. So this was my favorite from the samples I got. This was like I immediately fell in love with it, and then I bought the little one, and I was like, "Why'd you do that? Why'd you only get the little one? You shouldn't have gotten the little one." But this was my favorite. My husband's favorite was Gavitea. Is that how it's called?
Gavatella?
Yeah, Gavatella. He was
Yeah.
like, oh, I love that one.
Yeah. Yeah, my
That was
husband
his
likes that one
favorite.
too. I do think it has a little bit of a masculine edge, so I can see
Yeah,
that.
he loved that one. And then the honeysuckle, and I can't say the second word. I've tried so many
Halcyon.
times. Thank you.
Like halcyon days. That's kind of like what it's
The
about. Is
honeysuckle,
the good old days.
halcyon,
Halcyon.
halcyon. Okay.
Yeah.
And that one, I really like that one too.
Yeah.
I really like that one. And then, so that was from the first samples I got, and then the Summit Rose. I need a
Mhm.
bottle of Summit Rose. Like I like it's like a little like a touch of green in rose.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's definitely a much more green rose. And like
love it.
I'm a rose lover, and it's like one of those things that a lot of people are like, I don't like rose, but I feel like rose can be interpreted so many different ways, and that one in particular is very like green and coniferous and a little bit jammy. So it's like a winter rose kind of
It's
that you
beautiful.
find on the top of a summit, on the top of a
Yeah.
mountain.
And the thing is, and I think what you mentioned, even your fragrances they have a really like light, beautiful, like almost you can almost tell that they're natural. Like they feel
Yeah.
very very not forced. Let's put it that way. Their fragrances feel very not forced. So even the ones that are heavier, they're not
Hmm.
heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beanie Butt, yes, Beanie Butt knows that I love rose. I am an all rose girl. Like I would have all of the rose fragrances, which by the way, you have many rose fragrances.
I do have several rose fragrances, yes. Yeah.
I was looking at that. I'm like, she has a lot of them. So what is your most challenging fragrance, and why is it the most challenging?
I've been trying to work on a Shipra for a very long time, and that one is challenging to me. I don't really know why. I guess the traditional Shipra Accord is oak moss, labdanum, um, bergamot, and what am I forgetting here all of a sudden?
It's
Oak
like
moss,
the
algae.
citrus.
Yeah, the bergamot, labdanum, oak moss. I'm like drawing a complete blank.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's a little bit like a fougere, but without the lavender.
Yeah.
And you don't actually have like a coumarin thing going on, but you can. Sometimes people do vetiver as well, and then there's a floral heart. Um, so I don't know what it is about that one, but I think the kind of contrast of the like really bright citrus with that kind of darker base is like harder for me to kind of wrap my head around maybe. Where I love fougères, I have two fougères in my line, and that one is like easier for me. But something about chypres, it's just harder for me to
Harder.
kind of get it to work. Yeah, but I've been working on one for a while, and I think I'll have one next year. That's my goal.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So indoors, he says, how did you learn the art of enfleurage? But I think I'm going to add to that question. Please explain enfleurage because I
Okay.
don't think people understand just how labor intensive enfleurage is.
Yeah. Yeah. So enfleurage is basically taking fragrant flowers that breathe. That's the way I describe it. Their fragrance after being picked. So if a flower, like I've tried to do it, trust me, tried it with other flowers that smell good, but they don't breathe their scent. So butterfly bush, buddleia, that one is beautiful, smells really good. As soon as you pick it, it wilts and it doesn't work. So it's got to be things that are that will breathe their scent longer than after long after they've been picked, a day or two. So a good example, lilacs, roses, some peonies. Some peonies smell terrible. They look beautiful, but smell terrible. Some do smell good. As well as other ones that I can't grow here in Colorado because we can't grow a lot of plants or a lot of flowers in Colorado, a lot of the tropical ones, but gardenias are a good enfleurage candidate. Jasmine is as well. And so basically what you do is you take these fresh petals and you put them on I use a glass tray, like a baking dish. I put them on top of a layer of coconut oil, and it has to be scentless coconut oil. Coconut oil that has a scent does not work. Again, these are things I've tried and learned over the years through trial and error. And it has to be a relatively thin layer of the coconut oil, or other people might use like palm oil. There's other things you can use, but basically some type of fat that you would use for cooking that is scentless. And so you apply the flowers to the top of that. I usually cover it with foil, and I score little holes in the foil so that it can have some air. So you don't want condensation.
Okay.
And then I replace those flowers every day. Sometimes I'll do it like 3 times a day if it's lilacs, because I have so many lilacs that I would have no other way to get through all of them in a season. And so I'll reapply that, a couple times a day over the course of however long that those flowers are blooming. And then once that's done, I take that, and you don't have to do this step. There's 2 things you could do here. I take the coconut oil and I soak it in alcohol, and I use the same alcohol that I use in my perfumes. So I have 190 proof organic alcohol that's extracted from grapes. And I use that, and I let it sit in the alcohol, usually like 3 months. And then I filter it, cold filter it. And I usually have to do that 10 times because you got to get rid of the coconut oil from the alcohol. Otherwise, you have these little oil droplets that are kind of floating around in your alcohol. And then I can use this kind of clarified extract in a perfume.
So
But some people don't wash it in alcohol. Some people will use it as it is in like a solid perfume. I just don't make solid perfume, so I don't do that. But I think it would be lovely.
So how long exactly can it take you to have a usable amount of Well, I mean, I guess it's fragrant coconut oil before it turned into anything else. So how
Yeah.
many how long does it take you to actually have something you can work with?
Um, so I have a lot of lilacs. I have 7 or 8 bushes. So that I had, like I said, I have like this huge backlog
Mhm.
of lilac enfleurage. I mean, I probably would be fine for one season to be able
Okay.
to have a batch of perfume and not have it be limited edition, honestly.
Really?
Um, but my irises, I don't have as much, and they are kind of finicky in terms of some years they don't bloom. I learned this, I didn't realize this about irises. So if you're a gardener and you don't know this, you probably do know this if you're a gardener and you like irises, but you have to divide them. Otherwise, they get
Mm.
too crowded and then they stop blooming. And so that happened to me. And so now I have to kind of use like 2 seasons to be able to have a batch of my violetier. And I'm able to kind of reuse the coconut oil, like rewash it in alcohol. I've done that a couple of times and it still actually has a pretty strong scent, which is
Really?
surprising. But I've done that a couple times as well. So it depends on the flowers and like how much you have. I also have probably about 20 rose bushes. And like this year, I had several of them barely bloomed. So it's nature, right?
Oh,
So it just kind of
yeah.
depends on how nature's feeling and if it's going to produce what you want it to produce or not.
So how does the characteristics of you using like real life flowers that you pick yourself? So how much does that limit the offerings that you have for a
Well,
particular fragrance at one
I
time?
don't do it for all my perfumes. I only have it for my limited edition, and that was kind of on purpose, knowing that I may not be able to have this all the time. So, and an enfleurage extrait really acts like a top note, so there's only so much you can do with it. It's more of an accent, in my opinion. Yeah.
Interesting.
Mhm.
And why enfleurage? Like, why did you pick this method of extraction?
I just really thought it was, kind of cool. Like no one's doing it anymore, and part of that is you can imagine is because of the labor involved in it, and also the yield is really low. For a long time, there was really only one way to get like tuberose and jasmine was done, kind of commercially via enfleurage, and then it kind of fell out of favor once solvent extraction became widely available because it's going to yield a higher result in terms of the oil that you get from it. It also has a more it's a more potent result. A solvent extraction is definitely something that's going to last a lot longer. So that's you're getting kind of a higher quality oil that you're able to know I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm trying to say. Like basically, it's something that can be used, in smaller amounts. Where enfleurage extrait, you have to kind of use more to get more out of it, um, and it's not as expensive to produce solvent extraction. So anyway, to me, it was like this is a very artisan level kind of process that really no one's doing anymore. And so I wanted to kind of keep that art alive because there's just not anyone doing it, and I thought that was really cool.
So, do you have your bottles, like your fragrances already bottled, or do you bottle them when orders come in?
Oh, you must have read that. Yeah. Yeah, so I choose to do it that way. I know a lot of other people, will make a batch of perfume, they'll filter it, and then they'll straight away they will bottle whatever size bottles they have of that perfume. So yeah, no, we wait until an order comes in, and then if it's a 50 ml bottle, we will bottle it right then and there, put the label on, put it in the box, etc. And we do that because it allows us to better manage our inventory. And honestly, maybe now that it's been 5 years, I probably could pre-make a lot of bottles, and we'll do it if we're doing events, but otherwise, no, we'll do it, on the spot. And then that way you're also kind of getting the freshest batch of perfume always. It's not just like a bottle that's been sitting on the shelf.
No,
So there's a couple different reasons for it.
one thing that I loved about reading that is because Damask House, Brie, she also does that.
Oh, she does? Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
didn't
she
realize
does.
that. Yeah.
She does that also. And one thing that I love about that is now that I know that, the bottle means a little bit more because you know
Yeah.
it's made for you. Like
Yeah.
it was
Exactly.
literally bottled for you because you made an order. So to
Yeah.
me, that gives each bottle like a little bit more of a like sentimental value. Like there's more like a
Yeah.
connection with the fact that it wasn't just pulled off a shelf. It was
Hmm.
literally made, like bottled for you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I loved when I read that. I'm like, yes, I love that. I love that. It makes it like just a little bit more of a personal touch.
Yeah, for sure.
So you are a ballroom dancer.
I am. Yeah.
So how has dancing inspired your fragrance creations?
Well, and one thing I will say, and this is probably true with a lot of different artistic endeavors, is that I think, and I've done ballroom for 15 years or so, but I learned it later in life. Like I never danced as a kid. I was kind of a clumsy person. I'm pretty introverted and shy. Like it really didn't fit, but I decided to do it. But the thing that's kind of interesting about dance, and I find this with perfume too, is you start with the basics. Like you literally learn the box step, and people stare at their feet while they're doing it. And then, okay, now I know the box step. Now I'm going to add in, a little bit more. And now I'm moving my hips, and then I'm going to move my arms. And then it's going to all fit together and be really beautiful, right? But you have to kind of start with the basics. And I think the same is true in perfumery. You kind of learn to build accords. You learn by smelling different ingredients and kind of understanding how those ingredients interact on their own, on a scent strip, how they interact on your skin, how they interact together, and then kind of try to build your perfume. And when that doesn't work, then you do another trial and you make adjustments. And
Another
so it
one.
has this kind of like similarity where it is very, it builds on top of itself, and you have to be very patient. And so I kind of like thinking about ballroom dance and perfumery in that way because they have those similarities. You can't go from point A to point Z and just be like, it's done. No, you have to like do all the steps in between. And once you get there, it's like even more rewarding, which is kind of cool.
So Nidia wants to know, so how long she's been
All right.
dancing for 2.5 years. So she says, what's your
Wonderful.
favorite? What's your favorite dance? Ballroom dance.
Well, I do nine dance. I don't know if you know what that is, Nydia, or if that's what you do as well. But so nine dance in the American style, a ballroom dance would be cha cha, rumba, bolero, West Coast swing. So those are your rhythm dances. And then for the smooth dances, or what we think of as traditionally like ballroom dances that travel around the whole floor. So that's tango, foxtrot, and waltz, and Viennese waltz. Um, and I started out really liking the rhythm dances better, and particularly Bolero is one of my favorites. I have a perfume that's named after the Bolero, Rosa de Bolero, and then also rumba. And then over the years, I've really started to love tango and foxtrot more. So I guess it just kind of depends, like what my mood is or whatever. But yeah, I think I've really started to love the smooth ballroom dances more.
So
What about you,
what?
Nydia?
So Nidia, what's your favorite? Whitney asks, and what fragrances do you have that are inspired by your ballroom dancing or named after your ballroom dancing?
So La Valse that we mentioned earlier. So both rose fragrances, as it turns out. Cha Cha. I do love Cha Cha. Yeah. Um, so La Valse, which is a rose, kind of a rose gourmand soliflor, and then Rosa de Bolero, which is kind of a spicy, leathery patchouli rose.
So I have Laval's here. Laval's has black pepper, coconut CO2, rose absolute, rose damascena, and rose bourbonia.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Yep.
say
Yeah, you got it.
Bourbonian. And then it has in-house Tahitian vanilla bean tincture, patchouli benzoin, and sandalwood. So you do your own vanilla bean tincture? Do you
Mm-hmm.
do it yourself? How long does it take to do a vanilla bean tincture?
I let the vanilla beans sit in alcohol for 9 to 12 months, and that I just had kind of decided over time is kind of the sweet spot, as it turns out.
So
So
do you have it like do you always have like a batch of tincture kind of going?
yeah, yeah, like I've got some right now that I think I will be ready to filter in maybe about 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is a question I've always been interested in. What is it with the CO2? Because I'm seeing a lot of the CO2.
Yeah.
Is that a method of extraction? What makes that different from the other notes that, the same note without the CO2? Like
Yeah.
there's a difference. Could you help me
Yeah.
understand that? Because there's a bug. Sorry.
No, you yeah, I mean, it is a different type of extraction. And so it's done using CO2, basically. And the extraction yields a more true to life fragrance, which is kind of cool. So, like, I use a jasmine CO2 in one of my perfumes, Fleur du Riad, and it kind of acts like a base note. And it honestly, it smells a little more like tuberose, interestingly enough. But I like it because it's very long lasting. And then rose CO2, I think, is a little more true to life. So they're just kind of an interesting ingredient where you can get a different, kind of quality of the same like oil. And I like to use it to enhance other things, and especially the florals. And then there's also some spices that I like the CO2 extraction better. So I use a cardamom CO2 extraction that I think is really lovely, and I think it's much better than the essential oil. There's also a cardamom absolute oil that I also think is better than the essential oil. So it's kind of interesting. Like you can kind of really dig into the natural ingredients. So even though it's a limited palette, these different extraction methods give you, some different
That's so
flexibility.
interesting. So it's like different, I guess, like different shades of the same color
Kind of, yeah.
when it comes. That's so interesting. So Nidia said cha-cha. Hers is cha-cha. And she said it was too hard. It's a leg workout.
Bolero is hard. It's like a workout. You're like doing lunges in that dance. It's really funny.
No, no, I'm way too, no. I bent over today to help somebody pick something off the floor and I almost couldn't get up. So that's like completely out of the question. No. So, okay, so Bolero. Bolero has Rosa de Bolero, has saffron, pink peppercorn, red mandarin, rose absolute, osmanthus, sandalwood, frankincense, and patchouli. The way that sounds so beautiful.
And honestly, that is more of an osmanthus fragrance. So even though it does have rose in the name, it's more of an osmanthus fragrance.
It's described as a sultry, spicy, leathery.
Yeah.
That sounds very interesting. So what is your favorite from your offerings right now?
I am a big neroli and orange blossom fan, and so I like to work with those ingredients a lot, and I like to wear them, and whether it's my perfume or someone else's perfume, it just both of those things are my favorite. And if you don't know, neroli and orange blossom both technically come from the same plant.
Yeah.
It's just that neroli is the distilled version, so it's the essential oil, and orange blossom is the absolute extraction. So again, different, same thing, but different ingredients because of the extraction methods, which makes natural perfumery like easy, not easier, but like more interesting because you have more options.
So with those two, like the neroli and the orange blossom, how would you describe, like if you're just smelling these two different extraction methods, how would you describe the difference between how that comes through the olfactive experience?
Yeah. So neroli to me is more kind of bright and citrusy. It is floral, but I would say more in the citrus direction, whereas orange blossom is kind of like a heavier, denser floral. It's honeyed, more in the kind of jasmine sambac direction. But they're lovely together. Neroli acts more like a top note, orange blossom more like a heart to a base note. So I tend to use them together. I use both of them, or no, that's not true. I use orange blossom in yuzu pop, but I guess I don't use neroli in it. But in Fleur du Riad, I use both. In Jasmine Bay Serenade, I use both of them. I think they're lovely together.
So Fleur du Riad. This one has, wait a minute. Green mandarin, neroli, orange blossom, jasmine, vetiver, and oak moss. So there you go with the oak moss.
I'm a big oak moss fan. I
I
really am.
love oak
And a lot
moss.
of people think that it's banned. Or they think it's like heavily restricted, which that is true. It is heavily restricted, but it's not banned.
Yeah.
There is an IFRA compliant oak moss, which I use. And so basically that has a lower level of atronol, which is the allergen in oak moss. So yeah, I
So,
think it's lovely. I think
so
you
for,
can, to me, I could use oak moss in every
I love
fragrance,
oak
quite
moss.
frankly.
I love. I have a perfumer friend who I don't know if he left, who found some of the non um, allowable oak moss. He was
Oh
able to get
yeah.
his hand on some of it. He was really
Yeah.
excited. He's like, I won't use it, but I want it for
It
myself,
is
to have.
It is really interesting. Like I never used it and kind of intentionally the non-IFRA compliant because I was like, I don't want to
I
like
don't want to
fall
know.
in love with it and be like, oh
I
no,
want
I
to
can't
know. I
use
don't
this.
want to know.
Yeah, but since then I have smelled it and I do see why people like it. But to me, I'm like, the IFRA compliant is still quite lovely. So, but yes, it is lovely, the original non-IFRA
So
compliant.
with natural, so one of the reasons why we have IFRA, like there's IFRA and there's like a lot of the synthetics, is because people can react to natural ingredients. Like,
Hmm.
um, so how is that? Um, how does natural perfumery work with that situation and limitation? Because you're still IFRA compliant, right?
Yeah.
So how what does that mean for you as a perfumer? Like what do you have to know, do be careful about, be paying attention to in order to be able to, still be natural, still be for compliant?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing whether you're using a mixed media palette or a natural palette. You just basically have to look at the IFRA standards library and kind of determine whatever the level is that you can use at, a safe level of that ingredient in your perfume. The complexity comes in with naturals in that naturals are complex in themselves, right? Like you have dozens of molecules that are naturally occurring with a natural ingredient. And so you have to calculate, your total amount of any given molecule across multiple ingredients. So that's where the challenge comes in. But I like math. My husband and I are math nerds. So to me, that's not that challenging. But, once you understand that and you're able to, calculate what those levels are, then it's easy to be done. And that's where kind of working with natural isolates can be helpful because you can augment in areas where, oh, I can't have any more rose absolute, but now I can use, other things like phenyl ethyl alcohol, which is naturally occurring in rose and isn't really restricted, to kind of augment my rose note in this perfume or whatever. So you just have to think about it a little bit differently, but that is true in mixed media as well.
And a lot of math.
Yeah, and the math.
So for someone who has never tried Wit and West, how would you recommend they go about discovering your house and what you have to offer?
Well, I have a lot of ways to sample. So you can buy individual samples. I have a number of sample sets. You can do a customizable sample set where you get 5 samples for $25. I have a new to natural perfume sample set. So kind of a curated sample set of the fragrances that I think are, kind of crowd pleasing, if you will. They include a couple of my Eau de colognes, which are lighter in terms of concentration. And then they have 3 Eau de parfums as well, that I think, are kind of the crowd pleasers and aren't as challenging as maybe like my fougères. So yeah, that's a good one to do as well. So it has 5 fragrances, new to natural perfume. And then I have my full sample set that has 13 fragrances in it. And then you get a $20 digital gift card.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then once a person gets these sample sets at home, how would you recommend they go about sitting there with this sample set and discovering the fragrances? What would you, if you as a perfumer could have control over how people go about, trying these fragrances on, what would Whitney tell a person sitting at home with the sample set?
I mean, I guess I still am the type of person that I still would save or oh, I was like, did you leave me? I still would spray them on a scent strip, even though I do believe you should also spray it on skin. But I think doing both is always a good idea. So I would say spray it on a scent strip. Don't immediately like be like, I don't like this, because as you said, like it evolves, and
A
so
lot.
whatever you're smelling in the first 10 seconds is not what you're going to smell 30 minutes to an hour to 3 hours from now. And then yeah, I would say try it on skin.
Yeah. So that's something that I've learned. When you start walking away from commercial perfumery, is that don't trust the opening, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true in all indie perfume, to your point.
Don't trust the
Yeah.
opening, because I mean, what I have found in most, if not all, indie perfumery is it's more about the actual experience of the fragrance. Whereas in commercial perfumery, there tends to be a lot of attention focused on the actual opening of the fragrance, because it's you want someone to walk into a store, smell it, and make a decision in 5 minutes at the
Yeah.
most, right? So
Right.
so there's a lot of focus on how fragrances open up. Whether I mean, well, in indie perfumery, I think it's a lot more about the actual experience and storytelling of the fragrance. So it's kind of sitting there with the fragrance and understanding how it kind of develops. Hi, Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Yes. So fragrance plug Ohio
Niche
says
about the
niche
dry
is
down.
about the dry down.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, it's very different. So from the fragrances in your collection right now, because I know you have a couple of limited editions that are not available right now. What tends to move the most? What tends to sell the most?
I mean, honestly, I think it depends on the season. So, like right now, Brumaire Woods, which is one of my fougères, it seems to have kind of a seasonal uptick when it's fall and winter, as well as my amber perfume, Jasmine Pet Noise. So those two seem to be the more popular ones in fall and winter. And then Violeteer, I guess because it depends on when I have it available. But if it's available for a longer period of time, it seems to be more of a spring scent.
Really?
Yeah, which I feel like it is, even though it is a fougere, it's kind of a greener floral fougere, so it works well in the spring. But Caldera Flower, the one that you have, is a really good spring and summer scent as well. Yuzu Pop, my colognes tend to be more popular in spring and summer.
This is so like as soon as I got it, I'm like, why didn't I get the big one? Why didn't I get the big one? Because I
Well,
know.
technically, I only do a 15 mil of my limited editions. However, when people have reached out to me about a 50 mil, I will do it as a one-off thing.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm
Yeah,
like, she only has 15 of some, and then she has like the bigger bottles of some of the others.
yeah.
But Caldera Flower, I mean, I absolutely, I love this. Really loved it. It was like love at first sniff for me.
Oh, I'm
It
so
really
happy.
was. So is Brumiere Woods the one that Noah really likes? Was
I
that one?
think Noah does like that one. Yes, he does. Yeah.
I remember him like smelling one of them and going crazy, like, Whitney, I need it. Oh, this is so good. But so the one that I wanted to try, and then I almost had a battle out with Brandon from Boogie's Boutique,
Oh, yeah.
was the Gardenia Ono, because you
Oh,
had
yeah.
like one bottle left, and I was like going to get it, and I'm like, yay! And then Brandon said, I got it, and I'm like,
He did. Yes.
that's not
And that
bad,
one,
Brandon.
I discontinued that one, but I might bring it back at some point because it's funny because I mean, it was one that people liked, but then they liked it a lot more when I was going to discontinue it. Funny enough.
As
Um,
always.
I know. And so Caldera Flower technically replaced Gardenia Ono. And part of that was that Gardenia Ono used a lot of gardenia and it's a very expensive absolute oil. And so it was just kind of not feasible for me to do it
Okay.
anymore. But I might bring it back one day. We'll see.
That is very interesting. But I was like, oh no, Brandon, no, you did not. He said, sorry, I got the last bottle. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I took too long. But I was really interested because of, as I mentioned, I'm not traditionally a floral fragrance type of person, but I found that I love gardenia. Like I
Yeah.
really love gardenia. So I'm like obsessed with it. I really, really love it.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
but so which one of these fragrances do you think is kind of like a hidden gem that people should pay a little bit more attention to?
Hmm. I don't know. That's a good question. Um, hmm. I feel like maybe just generally people don't know what osmanthus is, and so they
Hmm.
don't talk about. I don't hear people talk about osmanthus perfumes a lot, and I personally love osmanthus. So it's a flower. It's a flowering shrub, and it's actually technically in the lilac family. They
Okay.
kind of look like little lilac flowers, but it doesn't smell like a lilac. It's kind of peachy, apricot. Also a little bit leathery, but it depends on the like region or location of where the osmanthus was grown. I've found that osmanthus from France is kind of
Hmm.
fruitier, and then from China is a little bit more leathery, kind of deeper, darker floral. Little bit like dirty in a way. But
Ooh.
anyway, my point there is I do have two fragrances that have osmanthus. And so I feel like people should people should look into osmanthus more because it's a really unique flower. And even if you don't think you like flowers, it also has a little bit of a tea aspect. It's used in teas,
Mhm.
so I
Yeah,
think that's
I've heard
something.
about it in tea. So
Yeah,
which two fragrances are the ones that have the osmanthus in them?
Miki Mochi, and that's like a very osmanthus forward scent, and then Rosa de Bolero that we talked about before.
Ah,
Mm.
so wait, way to go, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. So Miki Mochi has bergamot, mimosa, osmanthus, violet leaf, amorous wood, sandalwood, and orris butter.
Hmm.
Orris butter? What? I'm
Look
learning
at it. Ken
stuff.
just said, "Did you know that osmanthus enhances dreams and makes them more vivid?" What? Really? Like if you drink it in tea, is that what you're saying, or what do you
Mhm.
mean?
Does that mean you're gonna have nightmares? Exactly.
Oh, I just smelled like the real living osmanthus flower. We were just in New Orleans. I had never smelled it in real life. I just smelled the absolute oil. That was so amazing. I was so excited about it. So if you're in the South, it grows down there, which is wonderful. And I didn't know I was going to run into it, so I was so excited about it.
So Kyle says, please embrace the osmanthus.
Yes, I agree now.
That's lovely. So, oh, Bucky says, "Yep, I'm in the South."
Yeah,
Well,
and they
Bucky,
call
make
it they
sure.
call it tea olive though, right, Bucky, in the South?
Yes, Fragrance Plug, Ohio. Another reason. There you go. He's from
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. So, how how have people accepted Caldera flower? This is the latest release, right? This was the
Hmm.
latest one. So
Yeah,
how has it been received by the community?
I think people really like it. It's done quite well. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
nice. Do you have, so what do you have coming up?
Well, I told you I was working on a Shipra, and so that is going to
Mm.
be my next year thing. So we'll see. That'll be my Wit and West 5 year anniversary perfume. That's my goal.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So how long does it take you to formulate, to actually feel like one of these formulations is done? How long does it take you? No cotton bucky.
That's a little bit harder to do in naturals. There is a natural isolate that's maltol, that has kind of a like a sugary cotton candy spun sugar thing going on, but I don't know that I could get the rest of the cotton candy effect using just naturals. I'd have to think about that. Vanillin, which can be
Yeah.
isolated from vanilla, maybe, but that'd be a pretty with just those two things. I don't think it would be very complex. So I'd have to think about it some more. Um, but in terms of like the amount of time, I am a tinkerer, and so I will get like about 90% of the way there with a fragrance, and I will tinker and tinker and tinker and tinker. Um, but when I get to this point where I can't tinker anymore, then that's kind of how I know I'm done. But it depends. Like Caldera flower probably took me about a year. Um,
I called me a year.
but And I think that's pretty normal for me. Like I'm not someone who can crank out a perfume, you know, every 3 months or whatever. And I don't know that I want to do that, honestly. I think
I was gonna say, like, it makes
yeah,
it like unique and gives you time to like really, I guess, experience the actual fragrance. Like, I mean, I don't know you as a perfumer, but like me, I've learned to take these fragrances, especially indie, and I like to test them at home, and I don't like the samples. I feel like it's never enough fragrance for me to actually know what it smells like. I always run out. But I personally like to test them at home, so I take forever to go through sample sets.
yeah,
Forever. Because I'll spray and sit there. And that's why I love working from home. I'll have like two things on.
Oh, you will? Oh, nice. I love that.
I'll spray, and here's me every 5 seconds. Ooh.
On your phone calls, you're like,
Yeah, I'm like,
people are like, what are you doing?
I'm going because I wanna, especially when I'm first trying the fragrances and when I have them on, I really want to try to pick up on all the nuances. I want to understand the story. I want to understand all the ups and downs, and that requires you to kind of sit there with it,
Yeah.
not just put it on and go. You know, you have to kind of sit there and intentionally be aware of what's going on with the fragrance, aware on how it reacts on your skin. Like, for example, for me, I wish I knew what it was. I'm on a mission. Some fragrances, for some reason, the dry down, and I don't mean the immediate dry down. I mean the 2-3 hours in, like dry down. I get like the cat pissy smell on my skin.
Yeah.
It's not very nice. So it happens to me more frequently than I wish it would. So I've learned just like really give myself the time to sit there with a fragrance
Yeah.
and smell it through, you know, and smell not only the 15, 20, 25 minute dry down, like sometimes we'll do when we're on a rush, but to sit there an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours in, even when it's just a skin scent already.
Yeah.
I still want to put my nose up to it and really understand how's it working with me? You know, how does it make me feel? Because I use fragrances a lot, and I want to know your take on this. I think fragrances are a big mood either stabilizer or destabilizer. They really,
Yes.
they can really put you in a mood or pull you out of one.
Yeah.
So I need to understand that because if I need energy, I'm not gonna wear a fragrance that's like all cozy and warm and makes me want to cuddle. Like that's not gonna, it's not gonna work. So I also not only want to understand the fragrance profile, I also like to understand how does it make me feel? You know, like does it hype
Yeah.
me up? Does it
It
calm me
like it
down?
taps into our animal instincts, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I love that. I love that about fragrance. Do you think about that when formulating? Like, is this a calmer fragrance? Is this a pick me up fragrance? Is that ever is that ever part of your like process while you're working on these fragrances?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, I think, yeah, I think like a lot of citrus can be really uplifting. Like yuzu and yellow mandarin to me are really uplifting. Ylang ylang is really uplifting. Rose can go either way because it can be kind of a cold rose, which can be kind of like melancholy, right? Or it can be, you know, kind of a brighter, fruitier rose. So yeah, I do think about that. I don't know if I start with that in mind necessarily, but I do think about that.
Yeah. So what's your pick me up fragrance?
Probably yuzu pop. I think it's like a very, and actually I think that about Caldera flower too. They're like both really joyful fragrances to me.
So and if you wanted to like I don't know like date night or just downtime at home with your special someone, what would you wear?
Of mine, probably La Valse.
Navals. Ooh, interesting. So Ken says, "Will you ever make a heavy patchouli-driven fragrance with some ylang ylang and orange?" That is very specific.
I was just gonna say it's very specific. I love patchouli. So are you gonna buy it, Ken? Because you might be the only one. Because I know not everybody loves patchouli, but I am a huge patchouli fan. So yeah, I mean, I would love to do that.
I love patchouli. Is it do you have patchouli in any of them or
Hmm.
no? Yeah.
A lot of them actually. It's in Laval's, it's in Rosa de Bolero, it's in Streetcar Magnolia, um, and all to different degrees, right? Like I don't know that you would really necessarily notice right away in Streetcar Magnolia that it's in there because I don't use a lot of it. Um, it is also in, did I say Rosa de Bolero? It's also in Jasmine Pet Noy. I have it in a lot of them. You kind of need it in natural perfumery, honestly. In terms of
Really?
base notes, like it's one that even if you use it in small amounts, the effect that patchouli can give to your fragrances is hard to duplicate with other natural ingredients.
Do you have any of these natural ingredients that you find extremely difficult to make work? Like, is it like they're too like either strong or just really difficult for you to find a way to make it work with what you want to do?
Yeah, violet leaf, which is
Mm.
in Miki Mochi, but
I
you
was
have
gonna
to
say
use
I've
it.
seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen it in here. So you
yeah.
found a way.
You have to use it in very like trace amounts because it can be really like heavy and like kind of damp green, like grassy and not a good direction if you use too much. But in really, really small amounts, it can give you a green quality that, again, can be challenging to do in natural perfumery, which is so odd to say out loud. Green
Yeah,
is
like
hard to do in natural perfumery.
how is
Um,
green hard to do in natural? I would think it would be one of the like natural occurring
yeah, yeah. Green in
smells.
terms of what we think of when we think of green.
Mm.
There's another one that's called Cassie Absolute. That has a green effect as well. There's a couple natural isolates that can give kind of a green quality too, but there's also marjoram, which is more kind of green in a spicier direction, kind of more coniferous direction. Basil, but again, now these are going like in a different direction for green. So um,
Like more like an aromatic spicy green almost.
yeah, yeah. So there is more aromatic green, but in terms of just like straight up green, it's much harder to do.
So
Yeah.
here is Emanuel is saying, what about buchu? Buchu.
I don't know what that is.
Hmm. I don't know what that is either.
I'll have to look that up.
And what are some of your favorite ingredients that like your go-tos that you can almost like just imagine exactly what it's gonna do?
Yeah. Sandalwood, but specifically Indian sandalwood, and you can get like sustainably harvested Indian sandalwood. So Indian sandalwood has been over harvested, and so there's kind of some sustainability issues with it. But you can get sustainable Santalum album, which is the Indian sandalwood. I just love it. It's so much different than Australian sandalwood. It's really creamy. It can be powdery. It can give you kind of a musky effect that, again, harder to do in natural perfumery outside of the natural isolate ambrodelide. So I use that one a lot along with patchouli. And yeah, I feel like it's kind of hard to go wrong with sandalwood. Um, and even just a little bit can do wonders
I
for
love
green.
sandalwood.
Yeah, me too.
I love
Yeah.
sandalwood. From the like the woodier notes, for me it's like sandalwood. I mean, I like oud, but I don't consider oud a woody note. Like oud is oud. Like I don't know, my brain
Yeah.
kind of like categorizes it somewhere else. Yes, Ken, she said patchouli. But cedar, like I find that I love cedar.
I like cedar too.
I just love
Yeah.
cedar so
Yeah.
much.
And there's a lot of different kinds of cedar. Like there's cedars that people don't realize are actually not technically cedars. So like Texas cedarwood, Virginia cedarwood, they're actually technically junipers, but they have that kind of pencil shaving thing that we think of when we think of cedarwood. But like Himalayan cedarwood is a true cedar. But yeah, I like all the different cedar woods. They have, each one of them can be very different and unique.
Yeah. So, in addition to dance, where do you draw inspiration from? Where does Whitney kind of come
Yeah.
up with something?
A lot of my perfumes are like travel inspired. So Caldera Flower is inspired by Panama. And Gavatella that you mentioned is inspired by a beach named Gavatella that's on the Amalfi Coast in Italy. Um, let's see what else. Jasmine Bay Serenade is inspired by Thailand, and Jasmine Petnoy is as well. So Jasmine Petnoy is like the spicy amber floral, and then Jasmine Bay Serenade is kind of the lighter, fresh floral. Um, so what else is? I'm trying to think now. I'm like, I know I have other travel inspired fragrances, and now I'm like drawing up like, oh, Fleur du Riyadh is inspired by the Riyadh's, the courtyard in Morocco, in Marrakesh. So like in homes in Morocco, you know, kind of it just looks like a building on the outside, but then you walk in and there's these like beautiful courtyards with flowers and fountains, and they're open air, and they're really beautiful. And so it's just kind of this tranquil environment that people go to kind of hang out at the end of the day and relax and get out of the sun. And so that one is inspired by that.
That sounds so relaxing.
Yeah. Streetcar Magnolia is inspired by the Garden District in New Orleans. Summit Rose is my Colorado themed perfume, so inspired by the Rocky Mountain Rose. So yeah, a lot of, you know, things that are either close to me personally or travel inspired.
So, when we were talking to Mark Sage, he was saying, like, for example, he once got he one of the fragrances that he has, he was just walking through a neighborhood and picking, you know, like smelling stuff out of people's, like, you know, like in front of the people's houses, like there are flowers around while he was walking, and it inspired him. That memory inspired him to create a fragrance. These fragrances that are inspired by your travels, is it a specific memory, or is it just the feeling of a place where you were and you kind of want to recreate something that kind of gives you that feeling or the mood that you're recalling?
I mean, I guess if I'm like taking like Gavatella, like that kind of like moment, like that we spent, you know, a day on the beach at Gavatella, like I just kind of wanted to sit with that moment, because it was like one of the only beaches that there was no one around. Like you could look across the bay, where everybody was hanging out in Positano, and it was packed. And then we were just on this one beach, and there was like no one there, and it was so just calm and beautiful and perfect. So yeah, I guess a moment, you know, during a travel.
And what is your husband's favorite fragrance?
I think he tells me that it's Gavatella, but then sometimes he tells me it's Brumaire Woods. So I think either one of
Ah.
those. Yeah.
And what's his favorite one on you?
You know, I don't know. I'd have to ask him that.
Really?
I actually don't know.
That's
Good question.
interesting. So what other indie perfumers do you personally enjoy?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I try and you know, meet a lot of new indie perfumers when I can. I think that's really cool that we're like very open, and like collaborative, and we all want to be friends with each other. And I feel like the competitiveness isn't there as much. Like we all want to support and uplift each other. So I've made a lot of good friends in the indie perfumery world, which is really cool. Kyle and I have talked recently from OSM Perfume, and he's awesome. And I just had a chance to smell some of his perfumes at Ode to Perfume that's here in Denver the other day. So
Okay.
that was really fun. Kyle, if you're still here, that was awesome. I was so excited to smell your perfumes. And then Daniela from Linen Tutu and I are really good friends, and I really like her fragrances. And she's also botanical, kind of focused perfumer as well. I love James with Filigree and Shadow, though I know he moved away, but I am hoping he'll
I
bring his line
know
back.
he
I know he will
moves.
one day.
He
Um,
moves.
yeah, yeah.
Kyle
So,
says thanks. He's still
yeah.
here. He's still here.
Oh, you are still here. Yay. I need to smell Mark Sage's perfumes. I know, and it's so funny because I like have hung out with Jamie and Noah, and I don't know why I haven't smelled them with them. So I'll have to do that sometime, because I've heard such amazing things about his
Yeah,
fragrances.
yeah. I think Noah probably has to have one of the most complete collections of Mark
Oh my
Sage.
gosh, yeah, seriously.
Like, because he's obsessed. He got me into Mark Sage.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So I think he got a lot of people into Mark Sage.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And I'm trying to think. I'm like, oh, there's so many other people. Um, Now I'm just like, oh, House of Mammoth. I really like their fragrances as well. Um, I mean, there's so many indie perfume brands out there that are just doing so many cool things, and I just love that we all kind of do it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And everybody, like I said, is so open and collaborative, and I love that about this world.
Yeah, I mean, I have found that I love hearing what other perfumers enjoy because
Hmm.
I think it's kind of like a little bit for me, it's almost like a window into your crazy creative process, right? Because
Yeah.
I almost feel like it's kind of like I don't know. I feel like I'm peeking into into your creative space.
Yeah.
Are there any? You mentioned Linen Tutu, who's also like botanical. Are there any other botanical houses that you know of that are?
Oh yeah. So like Charna at the a Providence perfume company. She's one of the natural perfumers that I studied with. I love Charna. Charna is amazing. She has had her line, I think, for like 15, 16 years. So she was kind of like one of the first natural perfumers, along with Mandy. I guess not as long as Mandy, because Mandy's been around for like 30 years. And then I also really like Strange Invisible perfumes. Nobody ever talks about them,
I've
but
never
they're
heard of them.
yeah, they're in California, also botanical perfumes, and they don't use natural isolates. So that's one of the brands that's like, nope, we're purists. We just use botanicals, like the whole botanical. And they are celebrating their 25th anniversary. So they've been around for a really long time.
Really?
But her perfumes are really beautiful and very different. And I think she even has like her own distiller that she works with. Like he's just distilling these ingredients for her.
Wow,
So
that's
like
incredible.
ingredients that nobody else can get, which I think is really cool.
So Kyle
Oh,
says
see,
Strange
Kyle's heard of
Invisible.
Strange
That's
Invisible. Yeah. Yeah,
that's
I don't know
I've
why
never
people don't
heard of
talk about
them.
them.
I've
Yeah, you
never
should
heard of.
check them out.
I'm gonna look into them because I've
And
never heard of them.
you definitely need to smell her Epic Gardenia. It is actually epic. And you know what? She doesn't actually use gardenia in it. I saw an article one time and I'm like, I
Really?
guess she's using jasmine, but I don't know how she did it because it smells like gardenia. It's amazing. So,
Really?
yeah.
So um, there is a brand, a house in Puerto Rico called Terra Mater. They were on Friday.
Okay.
And the perfumer for Terra Mater is Juan Perez. Juan Perez is a he did Dragonfly for Zoologist, the original
Oh, okay. Oh,
formulation.
cool.
And he specializes in florals. He's actually
Hmm.
a horticulture. I cannot say that word.
Horticulturalist.
Thank you.
It's a tough word.
Horticulturist.
Yeah.
That this is what he does. So this
That's
man has
cool.
like greenhouses. Like
Oh,
this is his
amazing.
life. And he does like orchid hybrids and all this stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And he's known for his floral accord, like his floral fragrances, because this is what he's, I guess, it's his life, right?
Hmm.
In and out of a fragrance. And on Saturday, one of the new launches for the house is a gardenia fragrance.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
really excited about it because I've been privileged enough to smell it and I was like, oh my God, I love it. Again, it was kind of like Caldera flower, one of those florals where I was like, oh my God, I love it. Jeez. I'm loving discovering florals. I just want to sit with them for
Yeah.
forever. And I find myself, which is, I mean, I don't know if this is like, maybe I know I'm a little cuckoo, but when I smell some of, like it happened to me with your fragrances, I would smell some of the samples and my brain is trying to go through where have I smelled this before? Like I'm trying to find the
Yeah.
actual flower. Like my brain is
Yeah.
you've smelled this before, like and my brain is trying to look for it and trying to create the
And process it.
image
Yeah.
of like what the flower is because I know I've smelled it, but I can't kind of like I don't know, like I can't picture it in my mind.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love that because I started like when I was trying your samples, I just kept reading up on the flowers. Like I would look and I'm like, oh, it has this, and then I would go and find the flower, and I would want to understand how these different flowers smelled naturally, to
Hmm.
try to piece together what I was getting from the fragrance. And I love that, like that connection with nature. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself doing anything going forward that isn't as floral forward as what you've done so far?
Yeah, actually, interestingly that you mentioned that. I am working on something that is more kind of like, I don't want to say this because it sounds boring, and I'm not trying to make it sound boring, but I do want to do something that is more kind of like a musky fragrance, like a straight
Mm.
musk fragrance, which again is kind of hard to do with naturals because we have ambretolide, and that's kind of it. But there's other things that you can do, like there's other ingredients that can have a musky quality, like different um, vetiver extractions that come from different areas. So, like vetiver from India can smell very different from vetiver from Haiti, and the Indian vetiver can be like quite like it can be kind of animalic a little bit. And so there's some different things like that. There's also angelica seed, which actually has a naturally occurring musk in it as well, though no one's doing an isolation of it. I wish they would. Maybe Kyle can help me talk to someone about doing that because I feel like that would be amazing. Um, so I am kind of
Kyle,
trying to focus on that.
Kyle, you're
Um,
being called to action, Kyle.
yeah, help me find someone who can do natural isolations. Yes, vetiver from Haiti is the most used, but vetiver from India can have kind of a musky quality. And I actually like vetiver from Haiti better, to be honest.
Mm.
But anyway, yeah, I want to do something that is more of a kind of musky scent. But the challenge being, how do I do it with not a ton of florals, which is something, as I said, you kind of need florals in natural perfumery to give it like kind of the balance that you would need in a perfume. So it's a challenge I'm working through, but I think I'll get there.
Mm. And then this is like educational for me, I guess. Is there any way to work in fruits, like fruit notes, other than the citrus? Because I know citruses, you can
Yeah,
get them from like, I'm guessing you mainly get the citrus notes from the peels, right? From like
yeah,
the
yeah.
peel of the actual,
Expression. Yeah,
yeah,
it's called cold pressed expression.
exactly.
Or you can do steam distillation of the peel, but yeah, it's not actually the fruit inside the
Yeah.
citrus; it's the peel itself that has the essential oils. There are some fruit notes in natural perfumery, but they typically fall into the natural isolate world. So there is like a raspberry natural isolate, which I believe is actually a compound or it's basically like a base. So there's bases that you use in mixed media. So basically a combination. It's an accord. So the big houses might make an accord that's like like Rose Giveco, which is effectively an accord. Um, and so they have those kind of compounds or accords that you can do that are natural. So they're basically a combination of natural isolates. So those do exist. There's also some natural ingredients that have a fruity effect. So certainly, I think osmanthus. I keep talking about osmanthus. Everybody could get on the osmanthus train with me. It's kind of fruity. Um, and then there's kind of some other things. There's some camomiles that can be kind of fruity. But yeah, it is harder, to your point, to have kind of a fruity note in natural perfumery.
Hmm. Yeah, because I was thinking about that. I'm like, well, I mean, I can understand citrus because there's a lot of, shall we say, flavor in the actual peel of the
Yeah.
fruit, but that's not very common in a lot of fruits, like
Hmm.
where you would have
Yeah.
anything that's aromatic. Well, let me clear that up. You may have strong aromatics in the peel, but not what you associate with that fruit.
Yeah. 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 That's a good point. There is I use a raspberry leaf absolute oil in the Violetier. And it does have a nice raspberry kind of quality to it, but it's in the greener direction than what you would think of as raspberry. So there's things like that too, that when used with other ingredients, you can get that kind of effect. The natural isolate beta ionone, that is has kind of like an oracea effect, but also in the berry direction. So that's another way you could get there too. Is with things like the ionones or alpha ionone, which is more kind of in the violet direction, but also has a bit of a berry quality to it as well.
So it's almost
I
like
have tried that orange essence, and I just don't love that, Ken. I don't know why. And it is actually, I think that is extracted from the actual citrus fruit, now that you're mentioning
Really?
it. There's something about it I don't love. I don't know why. I should smell it again.
Really?
Yeah.
And so now that we're talking about extraction from fruit, like you were talking about coconut oil and
Hmm.
how coconut oil is used as an odorless base for enfleurage.
Hmm.
But coconut is kind of like a hyped up fragrance note right now, more like the creamy coconut type of vibe.
Hmm.
Is there such a thing in in botanical
Yeah.
perfumery?
There, I use it in Laval's. There's a coconut CO2 extract, which is only partially soluble in alcohol, but I still use it. I use things even when they're only partially soluble. You just have to filter it more,
Okay.
basically. But there is a natural isolate that is coconutty as well. It's a
Mm.
lactone. So yes, that does exist. I
Ken, you're
haven't used
late.
it
We
in
already
anything
went
yet.
through that. We already went through the enfleurage. Ken. And I
Yes,
was
where were you, Ken?
and I was already shocked because that's a lot of work. And then that's another thing that listening to, you know, the nuances of, I mean, perfumery in itself is a very artistic, labor intensive, costly process because the ingredients are he's
It's in the
shopping.
news. Are you on Redfin shopping for a new house, or what do you mean?
Oh, Amy says, I tried enfleurage.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah.
How long did it take you to perfect it?
A couple years. I definitely threw some out the first year because I remember I told you I used scented, or well, scented isn't the right word, but I used a non-scentless, so it had scent, coconut oil, and then I just basically had an enfleurage that smelled like coconut, which was annoying, but
Which is not what you wanted.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that one of the things that I like to highlight when it comes to indie houses is that sometimes I think some people might be afraid or shy away from indie houses because they think that they're really expensive. Like they think that they're out of the ballpark. But what I've come to realize is that you can get something that is so much more unique, special, and different. And it's actually some, like, many times it's not actually that much more expensive than what you're paying for these like high end commercial brands when you think about everything that goes into actually creating this bottle.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
this is a bang for your buck if you think about, you know, just everything that you had to do
Yeah.
to produce this.
Yeah. I mean, I have focused on kind of like minimal like aesthetics in terms of packaging. And we do our labels in house, though I think I might outsource that next year. But I intentionally do that because I want my fragrances to be more accessible. And even though natural ingredients are quite costly, I didn't want to price everyone
Yeah.
out because that to me didn't make sense. But because my husband and I do everything in house and ourselves, including all of our marketing and everything else, we have more flexibility there. But yeah, I mean, I think yeah, when you start looking at some of the bigger houses, a lot of that is the name, right? Like
Exactly,
they're
exactly.
able to command a higher price because of the name, and a lot of what is going into their price is their packaging. Honestly,
Yeah. The packaging and just even the name, you know, because
yeah,
like I said, there's so much nuance in a lot of these fragrances that you will never get, or well, let me not say never. Never say never.
you might, yeah,
You might you might get from more commercial houses, but it's really difficult to get something that is truly nuanced and complex in nature. I think that that's something that I feel personally
yeah,
is one of the things that draws me to
yeah,
the indie houses, you know, and the fact that everyone has their most indie houses have such a particular style that I've grown to learn that, like, I can smell a floral and know it's Wit and West. I might not know which one it is, but I'll know it's Wit and West.
oh yeah, yeah, really? You think so?
And I'm like, I may not know which one it is, but I'll tell you it's Whitney.
Yeah.
And you know that happens with a couple of houses. It happens with House of Oubliette. I'm like, I may not know which one it is, but I know it's Eddie. And it happens with Michael Salazar. Like, you know, my husband likes to quiz me on my collection sometimes, and
Oh,
I'll be
that's
like,
funny.
I don't know which one
Hi,
you're
Darren.
wearing. I may not remember,
Oh, Darren is
but I
another
know.
indie perfumer that is like one of my friends too. I was like sitting there, I'm like, I'm drawing a blank on so many people that I love and think are amazing in this world. So yes, Darren is another
Yeah,
one of my
yeah.
favorites. I love Darren's fragrances. I love Vintage Novell, and a couple of other ones of yours, Darren. You just have like the most beautiful fragrances. I love that you do a lot of the like vintage kind of style
Yeah,
fragrances.
yeah. Darren is one of my favorite. He's actually going to be on in, but he's going to be on in December because
Cool.
he had a busy month. So we're gonna touch base in December.
Nice.
I love Darren's fragrances.
Yeah.
And I still like. I don't know how this man does a monthly limited
I
release.
don't either, Darren. How do you do that? And you have a
How
full-time job too. That's
how
crazy.
in the world do you have a monthly? Like in my mind, I just imagine him having like all these different fragrances all in process, like like they're just there, like in these like
Yeah.
containers, like
Yeah.
that's how like that's like if my like it's kind of like a
I make
cartoon
it all
type
the
of
time.
thing, like where I'm thinking like does he have a room filled with jugs of stuff that he
Probably.
has macerating there for like 3 months, and you know like he works all the time.
Yeah.
I
Of
bet
course.
you
Yes.
do. I bet you do. And you know, monthly releases that are unique, right? Because
Impressive.
you could be doing twists on stuff you already released, but no, it's something completely new. Like to me, he knows. I talk to him all the time. I'm like, kudos, Darren. I don't know how you do that. But yeah, so Darren is another one. Like I can almost always know it's a Darren Allen fragrances.
Hmm.
So it's like it's almost like whether I don't know if it's the fact that maybe each perfumer has a favorite combination of ingredients that they like to use, or you know certain accords that they've created that they like to I guess, you know, incorporate into many fragrances, but I feel like many houses just kind of develop a DNA where you can kind of pick them out and know like, okay, so, you know, I have a feeling, you know, Wit and West gives me this feeling, and you know, like Darren Allen gives me this feeling, and I really like that. I feel like it's almost like getting to know the perfumer on a personal level in a weird way.
Yeah. I can see
Um,
that.
and I personally love that because you know, and then I like to go back to fragrances, right? So for example, for me, I know I'm gonna come back to Wit and West and try a whole bunch of stuff that I already tried
Hmm.
because I know that I'm developing my a floral acuteness in you
Floral
know like
cuteness. I like that.
so I'm developing my floral acuteness. I say it's not that I don't like a note, it's that I have my nose hasn't learned to appreciate it. That's how I like to
Yes.
say it.
Yeah.
I'm learning to appreciate florals, so I know that I'm gonna come back and smell a lot of these fragrances and then find something completely new, different, and nuanced. I mean, for me, that's like fascinating. And I don't
Yeah.
get that a lot from a lot of commercials. I mean, it happens, but I don't get it as much.
Yeah. I'm
Mm.
guessing, I mean, if you think about it, it's a commercial house. They're trying to reach a wider audience, which means you have to be a little bit safer in a way. I guess it depends on the brand. You know, maybe some brands are a little more adventurous, but if you're talking like really big houses or things that you can find in Sephora or Ulta or whatever, a lot of those houses are trying to be crowd pleasers, which I
Yes, she
get.
does, Darren. She does a very stellar job with her florals.
Thank you.
Very stellar. So how would you describe Wit and West as a house to someone who knows nothing about Wit and West?
I would say, we are botanically focused and, we don't take ourselves too seriously, but we like to make things that are different and unique and that will surprise people. And that really, and I say, and that don't smell like everything else because truly natural perfume doesn't smell like a lot of other things. But honestly, indie perfumery, just generally, like you were talking about earlier, like it just is a different experience if you're not used to it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I would say botanically focused and just kind of, and I didn't prepare a speech for this part, so I'm not doing a very good job right now.
Botanically focused and very unique.
Yes.
I think there is definitely a uniqueness and an artistic expression to what you do, and I think that more so, I, it, I'm still stuck on the enfleurage. Like I can just imagine you going through this, and I'm like, no, I would not do the enfleurage. See, if it was up to me,
Yeah.
that just having to go to the garden and keeping the plants alive, like that in itself is like
It can be a challenge. Yeah.
that's it. And so you mentioned that you can't grow some florals in Colorado for
Yeah.
obvious reasons. Do you ever see yourself finding a way to obtain those florals that you can't grow in Colorado and seeing if you can somehow integrate them, or would you just go through some of the extractions that you can purchase already processed?
I have thought about like could I grow things in pots and then bring them indoors in the winter, but I would really need to set up like kind of a indoor greenhouse type
Yeah.
thing to make that work. So I don't know if I'd go through all of that effort, but I have thought about it.
Yeah, because I mean,
About buy a
I know
greenhouse.
people
Yes, I
who have
can.
yeah, I know people who have like greenhouses outside, and
Yeah.
they love their florals. But I can only imagine. I mean, I would think that do you have any like flowers you wish you could work with? Like you like, oh my God, if I could only, do this
Yeah.
with this flower, like it's a dream come true.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, if I could grow gardenias or jasmine, I tried to grow jasmine, it died instantly. It's just not humid enough here. Um, so yeah, it's a lot of the tropical flowers, honestly. If I could grow them, that would be amazing. Yeah, we're zone 5 here in Colorado. I think we're 5B. And our problem is that it freezes in the winter. The ground freezes. So yeah,
It has to be above ground in
yeah,
pots and
right.
to be able to keep them alive.
Hmm.
Ken's like, I'll help you.
Are you gonna ship it to me, or what are you gonna do? Are you gonna deliver it like every day to me?
Yeah, Ken's like he's gonna make it happen. If you just say
Yes.
let's go, Ken is there,
Yeah.
like hammer and nails, and he'll be like, yes. He says I can send you Jasmine Cutlet.
Oh, that's
See,
so kind of you.
he took it seriously. And do you have any like exotic flower that you've ever smelled or that you would like to smell and see if you could incorporate it into a fragrance?
Well, one that I'm working with the Chypre that I'm working on is Frangipani or Plumeria, which I love, and that one's a little bit harder to work with, but I like it, and I think that it will be quite lovely. It's kind of fruity, which I like. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
So is there anything that you would like to leave our chat here with? You can. Oh, he's in Zone 5B2, Whitney.
You're in 5B2 in on the East Coast.
No,
Are you in
Whitney.
Pennsylvania again, Darren? That's where you are, right?
Oh,
Pennsylvania.
look,
The winter There's
Whitney.
winter hardy gardenia bush that theoretically should grow here. Oh, I didn't know that. I'll
Uh-oh.
have to look at that.
Uh-oh.
Okay, all right, that could
Okay.
work.
Darren said it.
Yeah,
You might have your gardenia soon.
nice. Thank you, Darren. Good tip.
There you
Um,
go.
I mean, I think the only thing I would leave with everyone is thank you for joining, first of all. Thank you for chatting with us, and thank you for inviting me. And thank you for doing this like Indie November thing. That's really cool. We all really appreciate it. And without the community, we wouldn't be here. So thank you for embracing us and supporting us. And, we love you guys. So thank you.
So I want to thank you and everybody. If you haven't tried Wit and West, you have to go pick up her sample sets. She has so many options, and you can pick the ones you want too. It's like you
Yeah.
have ones. She has ones that are pre-picked, selected, curated sample
Curated.
sets.
Yeah.
She has curated sample sets, and then she has the option for you to get whatever it is you want. So I'm pretty sure, let me check if I can, because I had linked it in the thing that takes you places, because you know that
Does it let me type if I type in here?
this place gets angry in here. Okay, let's see. Let me.
Okay, there, I just typed it in the chat. witandwest.com.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Let me check in the linkamajigger. You know, we have to get creative sometimes here. So I'm gonna put it on the like the first house, so you guys can get to it, guys. Just in case, because I know some people ask, I don't get commissions from anybody. I just put so you guys can get to there quickly, because I want you guys to support them and get your fragrances, because these houses are incredible. I don't have it on here. I'm gonna add it on here. It's I can't see it on my iPad. I can't see it on my iPad.
No worries.
This thing is like, I can't see the names on it. But I will also add them. I'm adding all of the houses that we're featuring this month on the link that takes you places. So that if you've heard about any of the houses and you're interested, been in any of the lives, and you can get to their wild west locations through there. See, Ken is obsessed with the patchouli. He's being very insistent.
I'll think about the patchouli. I like it. I'm into it.
He is being very insistent. So yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'll add that as soon as we get off. I'm gonna go ahead and add the the link thing, so that you guys can get to Whitney's it's Wit and West. We've talked to Whitney, but there's a West.
Yeah.
He's there. And yeah, so it's your obsession. Okay. Patchouli is Ken's obsession.
We'll think about it.
Yeah. She has patchouli in a lot of them.
He just wants a patchouli bomb. So I gotta think about that one.
Think about it. Well, thank you so
thank you.
so much, Whitney. And yeah, I'll keep in touch so that when new things come out, maybe we can do like short lives and just get the word again. And there goes Amy. They're ganging up on you.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. Good night, guys.